All right. So I am going to do something.
Bibles like the NIV and others, you will have a...
Shh. All right. Hold on. I don't know if they can hear you on Instagram.
If you can hear us, please let us know. I see I have Honey. My friend T is on. Hey, T.
Nope. Hang on. Hang on. Yeah. All right. Insta world. Can y'all hear me? Hit a like. Throw a thumbs up if you can hear me in Insta world. Anyways, now for Facebook. You have to go in and spam your folks. Spam them all.
She said can't hear Cordan because it's muted on IG, but otherwise it gives feedback.
Well, you're supposed to turn down one of the devices.
Well, maybe I can scoot it back a little bit further.
You have to turn down the volume on one of your devices.
I did. It still gave that feedback.
No, you muted yourself. You have to turn down the volume to the thing. Don't mute yourself. Turn it down.
Okay, so volume's all the way down on this one. How's that?
Nope. Now there's a feedback.
That's what happens when I turn my mic on the phone on IG. On IG.
Shush. No one asked you. Anyway, all right. We're spamming. We're spamming. We're spamming all the folks. We're spamming. We're spamming. We're spamming all the folks. Oh, goodness. You have to turn down one.
Yeah, it's still gonna give us feedback.
You can't get on. No. Oh Lord, what is happening now? Can we not do a malfunction? Oh, all right. Well, anyway, I don't know. Instagram might just not be a thing.
Okay.
Because at this point it's doing a lot. Anyway,
No worries.
really? All right, so I'm gonna tag you in it on something.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm just gonna share it to your page. How about we do that? Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Or not. All right, just do it on something else. Hey world. Listen, y'all know me and these technical difficulties, but we're gonna be great. We're gonna do great things, and that's just how this cookie is going to crumble. Or what if I just turn my volume up on here, and then Instagram will hopefully hear you at that point.
Let's try it.
Cool. Instagram, can you hear? I know you can hear me. Cordan, say something, and we'll see if that works.
Cordan, say something and see if that works.
Yep, that works. Oh. But people are saying they can't get on, and I don't know why. That's weird. All right. Anyway, so usually how this works is I give people time to, come in and do their thing. And Then I'm going to introduce you, and then we're going to get this ball rolling.
Okay.
Because,
No worries.
oh, look, in the first video that pops up is you doing your daughter's hair.
Right. Good girl.
She's great. She's adorable. She is so cute. All right. At this point,
You can still see
hmm?
You can still see me.
Dude, it's black now.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Now there you go.
I was trying to go share it to the masses, but
As you should. You should be spamming the mess out of it. And for whatever reason, I can't. I'm gonna just tag you in it, and we're just gonna call it a crack.
so then I'll just turn off my Instagram or just
No, leave it on. Leave it on, young king. Leave it on. Leave it on.
Gotcha.
I mean, no one's on it, but leave it on. Yep. 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 There's no way I can share it with you. Is the only way that you can share it. Your phone, is that the only way you can do it?
So
Yep.
share this video.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have a laptop. How many devices do I need?
I mean, none. None.
We're gonna share this. We're gonna make sure it gets out there.
We have got to, because we need people into this conversation, because the resilient Black man is what we're. Hey, Steph.
Hey, Steph.
Hey, girl. Hey. Honestly, you are. We're not friends on freaking Facebook. So I can't share and record it.
Hold on.
I mean, at this point, we might not even need to be on live on Instagram, so just might as well shut that down.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just giving too much of a hassle. Pew, dee dee doo. No, don't share. No. Okay. Nice, really nice. It is hot up here. I'm in my attic, y'all. That's my prayer wall behind me. That's why you got all them stickies. That's what I be praying for.
Ooh, my friend and client Elizabeth is here.
Hey, Elizabeth. We're gonna get to the introductions shortly. We really are, because we're gonna. It's just been a day. It's been a day.
Here we go. I'm coming back.
Oh, hey.
Waiting for this to load fully on my side.
Hey, friends. Hey, friends.
You still hear me?
Mm-hmm. Loud and clear, friend. Loud and clear.
All right.
Does your camera keep going off? What are you doing? I'm going to. Are we ready?
We are ready.
Because I am ready. Let me know when you're done spamming the world. Because they're here. Hey, y'all. How you doing? Everyone get your waters, your little snacks, all of those great things, because Mr. James is in the building. I call him Mr. 4.2, but apparently it's 6K at this point. Like, one day I will have that many influence, like followers. I'll be a social media influencer someday. Someday.
You're already here.
All right. I mean, yes, but at a 4.2, I'm just glad I got my 130 something followers. I'm taking that. I'm like, hey, listen,
That's
give
loyal, huh?
me give me those. Anyway, let's get into these introductions. So, world, the man that you see beside me virtually. Let's see. What does Cordan do? Cordan, as you can see, he has a mentorship program called the Comeback Kid. He is a part owner of the Veteran Movers, so he helps people move in New Hampshire and beyond.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And as it says, he is a veteran. Thank you for serving, by the way, sir. Appreciate your life. And he's a friend, he's a colleague, and of course, because he's here, he's a Black man. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cordan James.
Such
So let me how did I get into connection with Cordan? So Cordan is like one of my first introductions into New Hampshire, right? So when I moved, I was trying to figure out like, hey, yo, where the Black people at? That's what I need to know because New Hampshire, different from Massachusetts. And so Vanessa connected me with Cordan because we had similar values and similar work environments and whatnot. So, and then Cordan couldn't get rid of me ever since. He was just like, "Oh my God, we have to be friends." And so we're here. So, Cordan, welcome. We were trying to do a whole lot of stuff way back when,
a whole lot.
but life, right? Life.
Right.
It happens.
Life is busy. Somebody got her license, and
I did. We're not here to talk about me. We're
Anyway.
going to talk about you.
Yes.
They know me. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're here so people can get to know you, the resilience, all of that lovely stuff. And so, is there anything you want to say before we hop on into the groove?
Anything I want to say? Nah, I think just take care of yourself. It's a tough day, tough hours that we have, and I think just want to start my message off with taking care of yourself. Look out for yourself. Find people who look out for you, that you can look out for, that allow you to look out for them, and just be present in that.
Yeah. I also failed to mention that he is a father. He is. Cordan just does a lot. And so, with that being said, so one thing that Cordan unapologetically shared with me is his story. And now, listen, y'all know I'm a counselor and I'm a therapist, so I hear stories all day. But when this man started to unravel his story before me, I said, "And you're still standing?" Because listen, Jermaine, although she is resilient and strong and independent and all those lovely things, I said I could never endure half of this stuff. So, tell the people, Cordan, how did Cordan James become Cordan James? Let's start from the beginning and work your way on up because your story is impactful, sir.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So my story starts off in 1987 in Los Angeles, California. My mother, during the cocaine 80s and all that lovely jive, got caught up in that life. And I was born with neonatal abstinence syndrome, so addicted to drugs. And at that time, I was left in the hospital, floated around the system, if you will, for about 3 years until I was about 3 years old. And around 3 years old, I was adopted by a white family from Los Angeles and moved to Utah. So this family had 2 biological children, one white older boy that they had adopted. He was a year older than me, and then me as the youngest. And so at that point, 3 years old, growing up in Utah, Nobody looked like me. Um, there was like 3 other kids that were transracially adopted that were black. But other than that, and that wasn't my whole school year, but other than that, I was the only black person growing up in that space. Um, it was a lot. It was a lot.
Mm.
Um, Racist grandfather, racist older brother, but just trying to learn how to live as a little boy. Um, I was kind of always taught that narrative of what my narrative was, right? I always knew, my dad was a gang member, and then my mother prostituted and did drugs, right? That was the narrative that I was taught, and it was very much raised around this being of like, don't be like that, right? So your progress forward is to not be like this. Here's your opportunity to do better,
Mm.
right? And so always going to therapy, right? I always had a psychologist, right? You're in the foster system, you're adopted. There's always a psychologist, and from there, right? So always spent my life in therapy. Every ADHD med you can imagine, um, but also that like all the trauma, right? My adopted parents adopted me with all of this trauma that they're 3 years of stuff that they were inheriting,
Mm.
and that was a lot of the psychology was to try to work through that pain. Different modalities like holding therapy. Um, I've been through therapists and through several therapists over my lifetime. Um, around the age of around 12, I went back into the foster care system.
Mhm.
So 13 through 18, I would go back into 2 different foster homes. Um, at this time, I was also in a group home,
Mhm.
an intensive therapy program. So pretty much like a day program where I sleep at home, but during the day I'm at this program
Mhm.
where it's intensive therapy, it's group therapy, it's reading books, it's social emotional learning. Like it's intense, and that was my life for 13 through 18. In and out of group homes, getting caught for theft, a little, thought I was a little banger, and um, yeah, just processed through that. And my family and I went through a lot at that time. We kind of
Mhm.
fell apart during that 13 through 18. Um, around 18, I I call it graduated high school, but I also graduated foster care.
Mm.
Right, that was like my introduction to the world. Right, I didn't have
Mhm.
well other people who have a freer life who choose better decisions and such. They have a much different life than what their teenage years were. Mine was all institutionalized. So getting out at 18 was like I'm learning how to pay my bills. I don't have mom and dad to go home to. Right, we fell apart during those years. Right, I had my own money saved. I'd been working my senior year. I was working at Target as a cashier. So I went out into the world with some money. Um, I reconnected with my family. Right, mom, dad, brother. Who my brother and I. So when I kind of skipped over this, but when we talk about like Fillmore, Utah, that's what it's called, Fillmore, Utah. So Salt Lake City being the top, St. George, Utah being the bottom of Utah. I'm like smack dab in the middle of all that. So like my dad, if you will, looks like Chuck Norris. Straight like city slicker. He wore slicker cowboy boots, had a big Bronco. He was search and rescue, head custodian at the local school, very well respected. And um, again, we grew up Mormon, so raised in the church. I don't know if you know Mormons, but we go to church a lot, a lot, for a long time.
I mean, we do too. Black churches, we don't never get out, but proceed.
Right. So, and it's a very small town. I would say like graduating class of like 30 kids, right? So you grow up with the same kids your whole life. Very few kids really move in and move out, kind of the same people. So
Mm.
small town dynamic, only black man. Um, and then again, raised in the Mormon church, learning the values of this new family, learning, the values that they wanted. Um, yeah, most of my days as a kid were spent fishing. like country, right? Fishing, BB guns. Me and my brother, he's a year older, so we were allowed to go out and just do whatever we did as long as we were together. Excuse me. This is also back when you just had to call in, check in with your parents. Stopping at a friend's house, stopping at aunt's house, stopping at grandma's house, make a call, know where you're at, and then you need to be home before it gets dark.
For them lights turn on, your behind better be back in his house. Yeah.
Absolutely. So my brother and I just, we lived our life. We did everything together. We fought together. We broke each other's arms. He broke my arm. I mean, just father was a martial artist, right? He was a 3rd-degree black belt in Kempo. So we were very much raised with the strictness in the home. Discipline, respect, except for that other racist part that always came in. But so yeah, that was most of my growing up. So 18, reconnected with my adopted family. Things were tough, still very scattered. About 6 months after I graduated, my adopted father passed away. That was, very shattering for them. Again, I hadn't really been in a whole lot of touch. We were at a bad part in our relationship. So he had passed away. While helping my mom clean out the house, she had this letter. She brought me this letter, and it was from Los Angeles from 1990 something, 1992 maybe it was. Right, it was this letter. So I opened up the letter, and it says, "You have biological siblings," and it was this whole list of people on this list, and it said their ages at the time. So I started calculating it in my head. Now I was always one of those kids. Again, I always knew my story. So I would, if you were my parent, I would ask you over and over, tell me my story. Tell me about my mom. Tell me about the time you came and adopted me. Tell me about the time you came to Los Angeles. And what did we do after that, right? I always had the scenario. I was always looking for my mom at all times, right? Like, again, back in the day before we really had internet, right? When we first got internet in our house, listen, it was phone books, then it was the internet, right? We'll dial up, go on AOL or whatever we used back then.
Yeah.
Right? So just like always having this passion to know where I came from. So father passes away at 18. I get this letter. I calculate ages, and I'm like, oh, some of these people are like really close in age to me. I was in St. George, Utah at the time, again, attending college. So I got out and went to school for psychology. So I attended Dixie State College for psychology. We can be excited, but I didn't follow through. So,
oh, wow.
Again, new to the world, right? Again, I'm learning how to date. I'm learning how to pay bills, learning how to do all that, right? Irresponsible me, not doing things with protection. I become a father pretty much 3 months after I graduate high school. Right? Father passes away. I find out about family. So I'm at college. I'm on MySpace. I see this black face pop up, Deshaun Dean, right? I'm like, all right, I see some resemblance. So I sent him a message and I said, hey, I know you don't know me, but I'm looking for so-and-so. Can you tell me anything? Something along those lines. And he sent me a message back probably like an hour later, was like, bro, we've always known about you. He and I talked. He gave me my sister's phone number. We talked, and it was like, in my mind, I couldn't conceptualize whether mom was alive or not. I didn't know. I didn't have any pictures. I didn't know anything about her. I just knew about the lifestyle and can presume that maybe or maybe not I'll find her. So it finally occurred. We finally got on the phone. And so that day we got on the phone and I spoke to my mother for the first time. 2007. So 18 years old, spoke to my mother for the first time. That was a whole moment. Yes, MySpace, those were the days. I'll put you on my top.
Listen, it was nothing like when you can put a song that represented how you were feeling at the top of your page and you had your top 5-10 people. You're like, hey, those are my favorites. Anywho, I digress. But wait a minute, before we go back into the story, like your story is quite intensive. So recap, okay? Because people's attention spans are like 35 seconds, right?
Yeah.
So you were born addicted, had to go to rehab because you were born addicted. You were left at the hospital, and then you were transracially, aka you were adopted by someone that wasn't black. So you had a white adoptive family. Moved to Utah, only blackface. Now, what one part that you left out is your name, your birth name, not
So,
Court.
so yes, I'm Cordan James today. So my birth name is Cordell Kenneth Dean.
Yes.
And
So that's why, like, when you said you were looking for your brother and Dean was the last name, it's because your name technically isn't. I mean, it is now,
right.
but your birth name wasn't Dean. But anywho, okay. So not only were you adopted, you are now given a different name, now put in a different state. You have no father figure because your father died, reconnected with your mother, and you're trying to live life as a young person, but then became a father at the tender age of 18, 19-ish. Yeah. And then we are where we are at 18. Now, let me just say, first of all, as a therapist, counselor, whatever you want to call me, the fact that you had to move and your identity was kind of lost, right? Because Cordell is now living as Cordan, and you are one brown face in a face of a lot of people. And you're trying to figure out not only just how to live as a person, how to live and navigate life as a black man.
Right.
In Utah.
Right.
Like,
How to be a human, how to be a boy, how to be black.
And now a father.
Correct.
All before your 19th birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a lot. See, this is what I mean. Like, just that alone, I would have been like, y'all can count me out. I can't.
So, and it was interesting, right? Like, so like 18, I'm reintegrating with my family, reintegrate with my brother. You know, I had heard he'd been in some trouble on and off and whatnot.
Yeah.
That is what it is. But it was just like this perception of, right, you know, growing up very religious, and then to find out that there's drugs in my family, right? It was one of those things, like, they always told me, like, my black family, like, that's bad. The drugs, the gangs, that's bad. Like, don't ever be like that. But then growing up, like, my parents very much had body issues, right? We all get old, your back hurt, you get addicted to pain pills, right? That was a very real thing, right? Headaches, extreme headaches. I can tell you some stories about that stuff. So it's like, there was always this perception of, like, don't be like this, but it was really this. To where when I met my brother at 18, he's got an addiction that I didn't know about, right? Yeah. So, but I'm just like embracing my brother, bringing around my cousin, right? So, quick story. So, my outlet through all that, I guess, if you will, as a teenager, was like poetry and breakdance. Those are like my two things you'd catch me doing at all times. Okay. Those are my releases. So when I graduated at 18, like, dance was my thing. Nobody danced. Of course, I'm the only black kid, so I kind of have expectations. But I was good, you know? Yeah. So I go to college, go to the dance, whatever. So I had a competition that I was going to, and I was pulled over on the side of the road in lovely white Utah. Pulled over on the side of the road because the competition venue's not open. Cop pulls up. He's like, "Hey, are you good?" I said, "Yes, I'm good." He says, "You know, I feel like it smells like drugs in here. Do you mind if I check your car?" And I'm like, "Well, this is my cousin's car." Yeah. And I don't know my rights. So I'm like, "This is my cousin's car. Of course you can. You can search the car. I'll step out." Searches the car, comes back to me with this tinfoil, and it's got these black streaks on it. I'm like, "What the hell is it?" He's like, "What is this?" No clue, sir. Now, at this point, I'm only 6 months out of foster care, that whole institutionalized world. I don't know nothing about drugs. Never touched on none of that by then. So he's asking me what this is. I have no clue what it is. So he's like, "Well, I think it's heroin. I'm going to test it. And if it comes back, you're going to get arrested." Guess what happens? We test it. Heroin. I have no clue. So here we go. I'm gonna announce my favorite snitching moment, right? I told him, I'm like, this is my cousin's car. I told you that from the very beginning. This is not my stuff. And if you want, I will call my cousin and he will tell you right now This is like, I'm scared, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm like months into my freedom of adulthood, like life, and I'm not going down for nobody that I didn't do dirt with you,
Yeah.
right? So anyway, long story short, I call. He picks up the phone. I'm like, yo, did you leave some stuff in the car? Oh shit, man. I'm so sorry. Take this wrap from me. I'll come bail you out. Click.
Ooh. No. It wouldn't have been me.
Right. So this is like, again, introduction to like my support system, right? They tell you when you get out, you need to have a support system of friends and family, and,
Yes.
right? So this is my first experience. So I get booked. Now I get arrested that night, right? So they said that go get him at my house, whatever, because he was at my house, my apartment. He was at my apartment. Like, you can go get him. Like, I'm not going. Anyway, I got arrested, got booked. Had the only support system I had was my girlfriend at the time, the mother of my son, her parents, her and her parents. Now they live in like this small town, like smaller than what I grew up in. Like, and then I'm coming here with my big old story, right? My big old story of life and whatnot. And then I have to call and I'm like, hey, I got arrested for drugs. But I swear I didn't do it. Right? They didn't believe me. Anyway, her dad came and bailed me out. And I had to go. Charges got dropped. I had to do a hair test, all this to prove that I had no whatever. Charges got dropped.
Mm.
Like, that was my introduction to like family life. I got kicked out of my apartment because of my brother and his stuff. It was the whole thing. So then it was like, okay, now I'm a dad. Oh crap! And I'm working at Target. I'm going to school. I stopped going to school. I'm just working. We're doing our thing. I get a great job. I finally get this great job at this glass fabrication company. I get fired. And I'll tell you why. I'm going way too into stuff. I get fired because I'm standing outside talking to an elderly black man. And we had our conversation. We used our cultural word, the N word, between each other.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, my man? Oh, nothing. I was just chilling, man. Right? Just he and I having a private conversation. Somebody went and told HR. HR went and told my manager. Manager pulled me into the office like, we have a no toleration policy on racial slurs. And I got fired from my job that day.
Hold on. See, this is the preacher side of me. Like, we gotta pause. We can't just gloss over things without making stuff known. Here is the reason why I created the platform, because people do not understand, or maybe they do, but we just need to hear it, right? Black men are faced with a target just for being who they are, right? But then, even worse than that, you have people who automatically deem you as guilty and you didn't even do nothing, which makes it hard for a good, outstanding, upstanding man of color to navigate this world because you are deemed guilty. You know, that whole like innocent until proven guilty, that doesn't apply to us at all, right? So it's like, even if we can rightfully prove, like, I am not responsible, this is not me, you are still guilty. And it's the privilege that a lot of people think that we maintain. Like, what privilege do we have? We are not privileged to do much of anything. We exist and navigate this world as best we could. And that is all we are privileged to do. And people don't recognize that. And your story, I mean, again, we're only at what, 20 years old? And you're how old right now?
Oh no, that was all like 18.
18.
Like this, that part is all within the first 6 months of graduating high school and foster care.
And there's still like another 17 years of your life that I'm sure is full of chaos. And can we give them a good like cliff note synopsis? Let's do themes, because we got to get through these.
I got you. Issues. All right. So at that point, 18, lose the job. I'm trying to figure out what I need to do for my family. Newspaper. I see U.S. Army. like, hey, what do you think about me trying to go out for the U.S. Army? She's like, whatever we got to do for our family. So I went in there, and yeah, long story short, signed up on active duty Army. So this is 2008, so 2 years after graduating. Signed up for U.S. Army, went to basic training in Fort Knox, Kentucky, ended up full-time stationed at Fort Stewart, Georgia, about 20 miles outside of Savannah, Georgia. Did a combat deployment to Iraq in 2009 to 2010. I became a 50 caliber gunner once I entered into the military. Honorable discharge 2011, and then again, I told you a little bit earlier, I like to write music. So I went from writing poetry to writing music, and this kind of ties into everything. So when I came home, still writing music, still promoting my stuff. I took my whole studio with me to Iraq. Like I literally brought like my mic and I set it inside of a shoe into my wall locker and my little tools on the computer, whatever. It was recorded, and he made a connection that brought me to Boston. Anyway, long story short, ended up moving to Boston once I discharged from the military, and that was like my start to life, pursuing what I wanted to do. And that's kind of brought me to where I am now. I moved to Boston. I saw the busy streets. I saw that like this is a great place for business. Figured I could settle here for a little bit. Worked with Wu-Tang, different projects, some cool stuff back then. And then from then it's really just been like life. I got married, had a kid. I have 3 kids. I have 2. So today I have 3 kids. So from 18, 2 boys, DeMarcus and Trayzon. They're both 15 and 14. And then my daughter, who's now 8, she's with me. So my 2 sons in Utah, I'm here with me and my daughter. I have her 50%. But yeah, just always doing business. I went to school, went to SNU, Southern New Hampshire University, to get my bachelor's in business, with a focus in organizational leadership. So like it's still more focused on psychology. How do I lead in the workplace and motivate people? And then within the last 2, 3, this is my 3rd year of having Cordan James LLC. Just been developing out the thank you. Just been the Comeback Kid mentorship program, and what that looks like.
Now we're gonna talk about that mentorship program. Just give me a pause. Just give me a minute. So we have heard an extensively what's the words I'm looking for? Y'all know English wasn't my best subject, but nonetheless, the story that you have is why I was like, I got to get this man on here. And I was like, Cordan, you need to be on here, because there's so much to his story that are impacting Black men in general. Now, this is episode 7. He touched upon literally almost everything from every other episode that I have done. You talked about grieving. You talked about being a Black man and having to man up. You talked about being a Black father. You talked about how to come back or bounce back, being tired of the system and how the system is not created for you. You talked about stigmas and everything like that makes it very difficult for a man of color to succeed. Yet and still, you are here. You are a business owner of 2 businesses, right? Veteran and then the Comeback Kid, right? And in case y'all didn't hear, he got like 6K followers. Okay. Like this man knows people and people know him. Okay. He does great things. All right. So this is why he has to be here, because Cordan James is a testament of what it's like to overcome, what it's like to experience something and start literally from the bottom and build and create and grow and heal. Right. And we talk often, obviously he's here, right? But me and Cordan have like a lot of conversations, and it is very difficult for people to see themselves different than where they were, right? A lot of people get stuck because they're like, this is the best I can do. Like, do you see where I came from? Like, I can't overcome that. And you are a testament that that's not true. So let's talk about the Comeback Kid. Why the Comeback Kid? Where you coming back from? What is a mentorship Tell the folks.
Absolutely. So first, I want to give a definition on what a comeback kid is.
Mm-hmm.
So a comeback kid is a person who repeatedly demonstrates the propensity to overcome tragedy and rebound to triumph and victory.
Amen.
And I think the model that I try to live by, that I preach in my program, is the HARD program. So HARD. So healing, advocacy, resilience, and discipline.
Someone write that down in the comments. Healing, advocacy, resilience,
Discipline.
discipline. Put that in the
Like,
comments,
that's
y'all.
the culmination of everything that I've kind of been taught, right? I've been given a lot of tools throughout all the trauma in my life. I've had a lot of beautiful people that were like there, beautiful people were present, therapists that were really cared,
Yeah.
group home staff, foster parents. I've had a lot of good people throughout those tough times who made sure that I knew that I was loved.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, that's where the responsible part comes in. That healing process for me has looked like diving deep, like we talk about, like mother wounds, parent wounds, right? How does that affect me today when I've lost so many people in my life, important people in my life? Some of them are still alive, we just don't talk. But just to not have those relationships, not to have that support, and then from there, it's like as an adult, you kind of go on and you inherit that pain, and as best as we can, we try not to bleed on other people. That can become a vicious cycle that I know I've been regulated to. This vicious cycle of like, you're gonna hurt me, I'm gonna hurt you, right? Oh, thank you. Yeah.
So is this program for what ages? Male, female?
Sure.
All of those in between, because apparently it's not just male or female these days. I digress.
So this program is for everyone. I would like to work with youth and family. So kids starting around the age of 10 years old and up. I have clients, I have 60s. So I have clients of all ages. But as far as the comeback kid mentorship program, I like to focus between like the ages of like 10 and 25. Right. And within that, we use an evidence-based curriculum. It's a social emotional learning program that helps kind of tease out this healing stuff. And the reason why I put it into like a mentorship model, because it's people like myself, people like you, other people in the community, being able to bring resources together to help people, and also to say that you can do this for yourself. So it's very much about empowering, but to have a system that also empowers you. Right?
Yes.
No change can exist unless you can upkeep it. Right? And we're only so powerful as ourselves. We're our own worst enemies. So somebody to fight for us on those days. So as a mentor, it looks like being able to go out. I'll take my mentees out to do something. We'll get pizza. We'll go to trampoline park, go to events, look at some art. We do a lot of community service stuff, trash pickups, donations to the homeless. And then I think I mentioned the second. I forgot to mention the second step. That comes with like one-on-one mentoring. So like being able to have somebody that they talk to that they have a relationship with that is on their same wavelength. I think oftentimes like I get to be a mentor. I'm not there to guide. I'm not there to tell them what to do. Hold them accountable. Support what their day to day is.
Yeah.
Also being able to stack in what a mom and dad, what is a school, what does a school teacher, what does the counselor need?
Which is important, right? Because we talked about the episode I had with JQ, and then even last week we were talking about representation and how much that matters, because we have these kids, especially in our community, these brown faces, right, who don't have role models living in their home. And so we have to outsource, right? We have to find these mentors. We got to find the people who can come and help navigate to the nuances that exist in this world. Now, you talked about healing, right? And this is the part now you can tell this man does this because he's very like professional and stuff. You know what I mean? And like I told him, I said, this is just a conversation that Jermaine and Cordan have regularly. There's just people watching, right? So let's get into the nitty gritties. Your story was very gritty, but now let's talk about how do you heal? How do you become resilient after all of that? Because truth be told, now people are in counseling for years, overcoming the quote unquote smallest of stuff, right? And your story ain't nothing small about it, sir. Nothing small about that. What did it take for Cordell to be changed and transformed into Cordan, where Cordell was lost and confused and hurt, left, overlooked, ashamed, and Cordan is now strong, ambitious, fulfilling, successful. How Cordan, how?
Ugh. I mean, it's a lifestyle of looking at yourself, right? That self-awareness,
Yeah.
realizing one, especially as a man, that I'm hurt. Right?
Mm,
I'm a big boy, right? And again, survival of the fittest. So like being able to be bulletproof is something as a man that's important.
mm,
But at the end of the day, when you look in the mirror, you realize that yeah, you are hurt. Yeah, that bullet did go through your armor.
mm,
That spear did pierce over here, right? Or I'm unguarded over here.
mm,
But yeah, I'm not bulletproof by any means. And I think being able to admit that I'm hurt, and then like finding professionals, finding friends to help me, like how do I deal with that?
mm,
It does take those uncomfortable sitting with myself, like those uncomfortable moments of being alone in my space, just to process being alone in nature, 10, 15 minutes a day just to like plan out who I am, what my intentions are.
mm,
Um, because without having a plan, I can get easily wrapped up in all that. Get lost. Get lost in the pain. Lost in the pain. So, you know, being able to have that intentionality, those affirmations of that there is more. Right? I'm glad that there was like a message, being able to find a message that there is more to you. Um, wanting, part of that is like also wanting better for myself and
mm,
believing that I have, I am capable of creating that change,
mm.
and I'm capable of attracting better as well.
Yeah. Can we talk about your motivation to be who you are? Because I think, everyone has that awareness, like, oh, I should probably change. I should probably go to counseling. I should probably do something with all of this baggage, but not a lot of people have the courage to do so. Well, obviously, resources is one thing, but not a lot of people have the courage to do so. What was that motivating factor that allowed you to step out to say, like, oh no, like you said, it's a lifestyle. So, what was your motivation to do it? Was it
Mm.
yourself? Was it your kids? Was it
Well,
what was
so like it was. I mean, I don't want to hurt. Simple as that. I'm kind of sick of hurting. By 18, man, I was sick of hurting.
it? Yeah.
Still a motivating factor, right? You can't wipe a tear from somebody's face without getting your own hand wet. So at the end of the day, like if I'm bleeding, you're bleeding too, and if I'm making you bleed, I'm bleeding too. So it's like just not wanting. I don't want to feel this pain anymore. I want to know what joy feels like. I want to know more. What is beyond that. And I think like also like the recognition is like life does have ups and downs. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
always a victim, and I can't
Mm-hmm.
always be a victim either. And there is more to me. There is this strong side to me that can face when I've been hurt, but can also face when I can be strong, and that looks different. That's looked different over time. Um,
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, again, we have conversations, okay? And I remember when when we were sitting in your car after we got the wings and stuff, right?
Yep.
And the way you just kind of was like, here's my heart, because there's just so much on it. And I was like, now listen, I do this for literally for a living. And I sat there and I was like, I don't really have words. All I know is how to show up. And that's at that point, that's what I was doing, because the amount of stuff that was on your heart was heavy. And it's a lot. It's a lot to understand. It's a lot to navigate through. It's a lot to carry as a man, right? And something that you just said is like, you have to admit that you're hurt and that you're not bulletproof, right? Like things do pierce and they do hit, right? And you talked about coping skills and skill sets that you have that allow you to overcome. And it's like, what are they? Like, how does one obtain the skill set to become resilient? Because again, there's theory and then there's like conceptualizing something, but actually practicing and living that thing is difficult. And some people bow out really quick. I've had clients that were like, nope, I don't want to face myself. I can't do this. This is overwhelming. And they bow out gracefully. So, what skill sets allowed you to maintain your resilience and to stay in the fight?
Skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think an attitude of positivity.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds crazy when you're going through a lot of stuff, you're going through hard things, but I would say like that became a habit of like thinking positive, right? I think in healing we call it like reframing, right? So here's what my issue was. Here's my responsibility of that. Here's their responsibility of that, and then here's the truth, and I can move on from there. But how I position those, right? So whether it's this horrible story is now just a fact. If I accept it, it becomes a fact. It becomes a reality, right? And then I can decide what to do with that. That takes the emotion. That right now it's a logical thing that's occurred. I guess it's kind of hard to explain that process, but I guess that from diving so deep into those is being able to pull out the logic in those moments. I guess. Forgot what I was saying.
Positivity, overcoming.
Yes, positivity. Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, positivity. I still go to therapy. Right? I had a therapy session at 4 p.m. today, an hour session I do every 2 weeks with my therapist that I've seen for the last 2 years. So like there is this respect for having support, knowing like, when I'm, as self-aware as I can be, knowing that I'm tripping up. Right? Somebody else can say, "Hey, here's where you're tripping," or "Hey, look at this," and then I'll take that and figure out what the heck I need to do. But so like that, that humility to just be told about myself.
Yeah.
From people that aren't seeking to use that. As a Black man, like people like Londrell. Londrell does affirmations and healing music. Like to hear that coming from a Black man, like I am peaceful, I am worthy, I am able to create peace and attract love. Like, where else can I hear that? If it's not a voice that was put in my head at some point, somebody didn't teach me to talk to myself that way, I didn't hear somebody else talk to themselves that way, it's hard to change that thinking. So like that's why I love affirmations, because I mean they literally do change your makeup of like your thought process, and that changes all kinds of stuff. But like, again, being your own worst enemy, like that thought process of how it's going to go. And an affirmation, you can say an affirmation and carry that with you, that I am worthy, and that can carry me through some dangerous situations. I also think it's important to like notice. There's this book that I read last year called The Narcissist Playbook, and to like sum that up real quick, she uses like people that died in the tsunami back in the day, R.I.P. to them, Some of the big tsunamis, like people didn't know that it was coming, and like people that were watching the video of these people getting flooded, they were judging, like they should have known better, they should have seen it coming, this, and this, right? And I think where it comes back to like admitting that I've been hurt on something is like the first step to like healing. But also like because you don't think that you have been hurt, you will never do anything to stop. I will continue to put myself in situations that I believe that I can get out of, that I can stop, that I can avoid, and that I can overcome because I'm a strong man.
Can you say that again? I'm just for mine. Forget y'all. Just for me. Can you say that part again? Because I need to hear it. Like that. Can we put a rewind to what you just said?
Can you rewind it? I don't know what it.
Oh my Lord. Never mind. Go ahead.
But see, now you got me all thrown off. Somebody tell me.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
anyway.
It's like being able to admit that I'm hurt. If I don't admit that I'm hurt, I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm not going to defend myself. I'm going to continue to put myself in the same situations. She talks about tsunamis, like believing that it would never happen to you. Believing that if it did happen to you, that you would overcome it. I can't remember but it's like just like you're not able to conceptualize that it could happen to you, that it would ever be as bad as that again. Right? Talk about trauma. Like trauma has its own hold and its own culture around that. And then that's like, so again, that need to feel better, right? That advocacy, that resilience, that discipline comes from, yes, I have to face this in some sort. Whether I learn to laugh at it, whether I go to the places that I used to cry at and learn to laugh there. There's a self-help book that I can fill out by myself that might tease those things out, right? It's taken Buddhism, right? Especially as a Black man, I didn't know that there's like Black Buddhists. Like the way that there's this book called Black and Buddhist, the way they rap, like being Black, the experience of being Black with Buddhism. Like there is ups and downs, right? There is karma. There is trauma. Like, I don't know.
Yes. Now me, I always throw curveballs. I only got 2 more questions. And these 2 questions are not what you prepared for. So I hope you're ready. Put on your seatbelt, sir. Now we talk about people who, like last week, Traquan talked about fatherhood, and he talked about, what it looks like when women have daddy issues, when men have daddy issues, right? But we never talked about mommy issues. Okay. Now, I love my mom's great. That's my twin. That's my baby. That's the queen. She amazing. Okay. Yeah. Hey, mama. What does mommy issues present itself as in a man? Right now, obviously, you can't speak for everybody. I'm not asking you to, but in your story,
sure.
What did mommy issues present itself as? Like, how did it impact you, your relationship with yourself, your relationship with other women?
Yeah, for sure. It's been 17 years of of a lot. I say that because like pre-18, I'm I don't know if I'm aware of that, but like since then, right? Had a lot of broken relationships. What does that look like? Why? It's taken me a long time to kind of identify those as like mommy issues, right? Because as a man, I'm like, I don't really need my mom. I never really, had one around that stage. So I found looking for that love in like my partner, right? And I think there's nothing wrong in looking for love, believing in pure and true love, and being deserving of that. I think when you don't know what you're looking for, right? Such as myself, right? It looks like back-to-back relationships. It looks like failed relationships. It looks like the toxicity that we see, the arguing, the lying, the cheating, the stealing, it's that reciprocation of hate, uh, of hate while also looking for love, right? So
Mm.
it's this, I'm looking for love. I don't really know how to look for it, but I'm gonna keep looking for it. Like I
Mm.
have a clue, right? I think in the last 17 years I found like examples of love, right?
Mhm.
It's also taken last November for me to sit with my biological mom on my birthday in Los Angeles. My sister flew me out to Los Angeles for my birthday last year, and I got to sit with my mom and process those moments.
Mm.
My mom to tell me how she felt, to tell me how she felt when she left me in the hospital.
Mhm.
The last thing that she remembers of me grabbing onto her nightgown, right, and what that was like for her, right, and that's taken 17 years for us to get to that point
Mm.
with my mom,
Mm.
because for whatever reasons, right, it brings up a lot for her, but so it's taken like the awareness, like where I'm seeing myself, I'm seeing my pattern. We're all aware. If we're honest with ourselves, we can be aware of what our patterns are, and if not, there's a professional that can help you recognize those things. But like for myself, like I see my failed relationships, and I see some of the same trends in those, right? And I really only have those in my female relationships. I have great female friends, and I don't have that with. But when it comes to like love, it's like this disconnect there, and I'm still trying to figure out what that is, because I put myself in situations and sabotage situations so I don't have to get too close.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Because you could love me, but like experience has taught me you're not gonna love me forever,
Mm.
right? But also I'm on the other side where I'm not really loving forever. Like, I'm gonna give you
Mm.
this good love until you mess it up, and then that's it. So, as far as like being like a parent, my kids were my first blood I ever met. And meeting my son was the first time I ever met somebody that shared the same blood, the same skin color, genetics, all that. So like I have this utmost respect and love for my children.
Mhm.
I thoroughly enjoy being their father. I feel blessed to be their father. It feels like a gift to me, as I'm sure many can feel when they're estranged, to have some children that are created from me.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of fear with that too, right? I was 3 months after graduating high school, right, becoming a father. I'm still broken. I'm still putting together pieces. So now, 17 years later, I'm still putting together those pieces. My kids are
Mm.
my kids are still growing up with me. I'm still going through my traumas.
Mm.
I'm still processing those, right? I'm still trying to get to know my mom. And in the meantime, in some ways I've hurt them, right? I'm not present for certain things. Maybe I might have my anxiety these days and I'm not present for whatever it may be, right?
Mhm.
Like it's taken a toll on, who I am. Um, I'm starting, my therapist and I are still, he brought something up the other day. It's like, does that go back to your mommy issues? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Sure, probably does a little bit, sir.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. We have a question from the audience. Hey, Mima. Do you know when you have love?
Mm. Do you know when you have love? Do I know? I would say yes. I would say I recognize love.
Mhm.
Ooh, I put myself in the burner. Recognizing that I have the potential to have love with a person. I'm talking about romantic relationships. My friendships, absolutely. I have amazing friendships, lifelong friendships that are 20 plus years. I have friends now that are absolutely beautiful. I can reciprocate that in that space. But I find that when it comes to the female energy, it is very tough um, to know when I have love.
Mhm.
I think without my own self sabotage, and sabotaging the relationship, like having those pure relationships, I find that to definitely be a struggle. I find that relationships typically come with some type of trauma. Um, and like bigger than, like typically like things that shouldn't exist in trauma, like in relationships, like cheating and, lies and like things like that are tougher to work through, relationship breakers.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, you know, it's like, and I say all this to say, like, my big sister. So after I found my, you know, family, I told you I talked to my sister. That's like my, it's like my everything. That's my solid.
Yeah.
Uh, that's my dog. She is mother, but she is also big sister. She is friend. She is like, let's go dip and go do something. Like that.
Mm.
She definitely is like, she's a good example of like what love is, what black love is, like coming from a black woman.
Mhm.
I haven't had like that experience, black woman love. That's been a tough. Again, I live in mostly white areas, so it's
Mhm.
a tricky thing. Uh,
Shit.
but like my sister's like my ace when it comes to all that, and she is like she's auntie. She gives you all the tea. She'll give you all the juice. She'll give it to you real, but also be like, I love you still. I'm not going anywhere, and like that's important to hear. See, you know, Terry, don't we weren't gonna do it.
I got my tissues. I was ready. I had mine's ready.
Oh
Go
man,
ahead.
it was
Emote,
almost it
sir.
was almost over.
Emote. This is what we're here for.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, you know, it's just to know that you're. I know that I'm worthy of love.
Mm.
I know that I can create it. I know that I can attract it. I know that I have love. Um, I know that it's coming in, you know, more abundant ways. Hashtag.
Mhm.
Here we go. Yeah, great
Okay.
question.
If this is a safe space, Steph, thank you. That's Steph, y'all. I love me some Stephanie. She's a prophetess. Okay. So if y'all need to know something from the Lord, hit up Stephanie. Anyway, digress. Um, first of all, thank you, Cordan, for coming on. And yes, we are reaching the end of this. I appreciate you for sharing your story. You do it unapologetically without fear, and I appreciate you so much. I really do. Again, I am so here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of bringing back some of my guys that have been on these lives before. Maybe just as a last hoorah, I'm going to get as many of y'all as I can back because
Mm,
every single one of you guys have produced something amazing. Okay. Your lived experience, the way that you guys share, the way you guys emote, the way you guys have allowed me to be the platform where you guys share something that a lot of people in your life may never know. I appreciate it. Um, but yes, Mr. James, Mr. Cordan James, you are a gem in this world. There's not a lot of people who can do what you do and overcome the things that you have. And so I hope that you see yourself as um, not just a story, but as you were ending that part, that you are worthy of love and that you stop avoiding it because of fear or
mm,
traumatic reactions or whatever it is. When love is there, I do it every episode. The Bible says that love covers a multitude of sins, which means it is the love, it is pure love, the unconditional love of God that we are able to give to other people. That's what carries us through, right? And so if you receive that love, just because it's foreign to you, do not shun it away, because I am sure that whoever the person is for you, that they will see your heart, not just your story and pity you, but see, your heart and everything that you have to offer into this world. He just left his website. I heard he was revamping today.
yeah,
So go check it out. Go check it out. CordanJames.com. Listen, I'm gonna brand my own stuff. Listen,
I got you.
I was I was joking with Corden earlier. I said everyone's coming on here with their brand on. They got shirts. They have all of these things. Yes, Stephanie.
Right.
Seeing that you are worthy of love does not decrease you being lovable. Like, dude,
Mm-hmm.
come on, come on, come on.
Like
You are loved.
Love you too.
And you are absolutely, absolutely loved. Nonetheless, I'm gonna get branded something.
I
I'm
got
gonna come in here with a whole fedora. Even the feather is gonna say my name. It's gonna happen.
yes.
I'm gonna make it happen. I'm gonna make it happen. Anyways, we have reached the end of this episode. If you guys want to see Cordan James back, talk, ask. He will be back because he's stuck with me, so he ain't really going anywhere anyway. I'm sure there's plenty of things that Jermaine Cordan or A Fighting Chance and the Comeback Kid will be collaborating on, so you will see his face again. Cordan, thank you for coming. Everyone who is here watching live or watching it in your own time, thank you. Please share. Please let people know that this is going. We are reaching our final episode. This has been so much fun. I've enjoyed every single one of my guys, and I do say my guys because y'all my peoples. Next week we have someone who's even more famous than Mr. 4.2K that's in front of me. His name is David Thompson. I have known David for 18, 19 years since high school. A lot of people know him as Mr. Excuse Me because he is TikTok famous. He's getting like stuff from all these basketball, whatever. Anyway, nonetheless, David will be here next week. We're going to be talking about picking up the pieces because something like Cordan, his story is not as extensive as Cordan, but we have to learn how to pick up the pieces of our life and put it into something that needs to come together. And David is a story of picking up the pieces and making something out of it, right?
Awesome.
So again, ladies and gentlemen, I hope to see you guys next week, 7:30 p.m. I will have David here. It'll be our final episode. Cordan, you are loved. You know I love you. I tell you that all the time, even though you get on my nerves. But it's okay. We are here. I will see you guys later. Have a blessed night. Goodbye.
Thank you.